up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. Water is wet and RPS members are shipping as usual. Our NBA content has been on fire since the beginning of the season. I kicked off the week by shipping a WFBBC seat on FanDuel using a low-owned Isaiah Livers recommended on the Premium Final Countdown show.
I hope he comes off the bench because I know for a fact they love this kid. They're going to give him run no matter what. They're probably going to push him, and he's $3,100.
Our premium content comes through big time, whether it's our up to lock shows, heat maps, core plays, or playbook. Join us today so you can start shipping too. I wasn't the only one shipping a seat last week. Our guy Locks secured a DraftKings NBA Live Final seat as well. AP's core plays from Sunday helped a bunch of members win too. Junior hit for $3,000, while Nick's story shipped for over $15K. Steve Boynton used our core plays and playbook to make a late swap that won him $3,000 in NBA. And Punisher used the NBA heat map to ship $100,000 on DraftKings. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the like button on this video as well. Keep the good mojo going. Our NFL dominance continued into week 8 as well with some big wins. D-Hops shipped for $4K on FanDuel. EJOCam won $5K. And Dirty Deeds 30 hit for $7,500. Some of our best screenshots aren't necessarily the huge scores. Bankroll building is a big part of becoming successful, and we love to see the good ROI hits too. Cusp Love illustrated this perfectly, turning $2 into $800, while Wes turned $18 into $2,500 on DraftKings, and Jalapeno turned $198 into a monster $77K. His Great Pizza brought the great mojo in Cincinnati. Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
It's week 9 of the NFL season. It's, of course, the Wishbone podcast. Spread has been arrested. He is in a federal prison. I believe he's going to go to Leavenworth. He has murdered many people. He's not here. We do have Uncle T with us today. We do have JT Hayes with us, who has a very morbid thought about the future of the world. Apparently, we're not allowed to talk about a lot of things on the show because the other two co-hosts don't want to go there. They don't want to talk about Elon Musk. They don't want to talk about pornography on Twitter. They don't want to talk about the end of the world. So what are we going to talk about today? I don't know, but I am looking forward to the guy that posts in the comments, the show starts at this point in time. So thank you very much to that man doing that. This week, we'll go to Uncle T first. We'll get him engaged in today's show. Talk to us, Uncle T. What is going on in your world?
Yeah, since we're actually in the world of obviously fact checking everything now, Holden, Spread has not been arrested because I just saw 2 back-to-back shows that he was on with Tyler and then with yourself. So I know that's not true. So that's one
true.
Error.
There's 45 minutes between shows, and he just sent me a text that he needs a good lawyer.
And he called you?
Yeah, texted me.
Boy,
he sent me a Twitter DM.
I don't know if your name would be on my bingo card in the morning if I was ever looking for a lawyer or looking for help, but never here nor there.
I mean, my parents are Jewish, so, we know a lot of lawyers.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call.
Right.
No, it's a good day, Holden. Wednesday, we've got another couple of days to kind of dive into this NFL.
Does that make you uncomfortable, JT?
No, I'll tell you what, I am impressed. I don't know how the hell Spread got into Paul Pelosi's house, but I mean, that's impressive shit. I mean, it's sick, it's dark, it's all of that stuff. But the real thing going on here is Spread, I guess, went back to his Holden is dying. That was pretty good. But Holden, Spread goes back to his day job, and so he can't join us at this hour, but we have to record at this hour because otherwise you're completely fucking useless. So it's a real conundrum here for the people watching. Would you rather see a lucid Holden or Spread? I mean, that's the decision that you have to make, and we'll adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I know. I got to stay sober till after
the two people that really hurt here that really make this show possible with that JT is you and I, to be quite honest. We move our schedule on Wednesday up to 4:00 Eastern just to accommodate Holden because he wants to watch the World Series tonight, which I do as well. But I'd rather have Spread in the on the show, but Holden didn't want Spread on, so.
But I told him as much.
There's a lot of factors that go into my schedule, but now I've added one, which is the availability of one or the other of the knee houses, and when they can record certain things, I have to juggle. But nothing makes me happier. Nothing makes me happier than seeing Uncle T and you two, Holden.
Oh, well, first of all, I don't give a shit. Second of all, whatever happened to G Risen?
He was gonna join us, and then I don't know. One day he was going to, and he couldn't record, and then we had, remember the day when you had another massive screw up, and we had to record a second day to finish the first day because
that was not my fault. That was Zoom.
The jury's not even out.
It is. Me and Simon agree. It was Zoom. Yeah. And apparently Uncle T was like going to people that run the site, and he was like complaining about it. And they're like, why is Uncle T bothering us with this fucking minutia? It was horrible. It was an absolutely horrible day.
About. You're talking about Big T, probably. I have no idea what you're talking about. I wouldn't even know how to begin to complain about something like that.
I got the text. I have to go tell the brass about this.
That's something I go to them all the time about you and your shortcomings, but so far
he really does that, by the way.
So far you've been able to escape the brass. So.
Yeah, they don't care. They enjoy it. JT, if you're listening to this podcast, you won't see what's going on behind JT. There is a dog, and it looks comatose in a cat bed. What's going on back there, JT?
It's not a cat bed. That's insulting. That is Quinn. Quinn is with me. Quinn likes to sit nearby when I'm working, no matter what I'm doing. And she's had an eventful day, so it's time for a nap. And that's what she's doing right there. So
what's an eventful day? Did she wake up, eat, take a shit? What's an eventful day?
Well, she took a dump about 2 hours ago, and it was a healthy one. So we came back in, and she gets treats because otherwise I think she would like explode from the waist. She won't go unless she knows she's getting treats, which she gets frequently. So we came back in, we played with one of her toys, one of her many toys, a little lamb toy that she likes to play fetch with. And her idea of playing fetch is I throw it once and she brings it back. I throw it a second time, and then she goes over and stands over it, and then just goes back to her bed. So it's been a busy day, and now she's taking a little nap.
I think how did the dog get the name Quinn? Did you give it to the dog?
Yeah. Quinn. I love the name Quinn. Quinn is my mother's maiden name.
Oh,
and it's just it's a name that whenever I open my own business, whatever that is, it's probably going to be something called Quinn. So
hopefully it'll be miserable disaster. What are your pets' names, Uncle T?
I mean, we've gone over this about a half a dozen times.
Usually I'm stoned,
but there's zero chance. Well, that is true. You are sober in the afternoon, so. I've got a 2-year-old, almost 3, purebred beagle, and her name is Arya. You're going to ask where we. Yep, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. See, the little light bulb just came on up there.
I got stuck with Mango, but that's because the cat's 14. You're not going to change the cat's name at 14. Just Mango.
I mean, they don't know it anymore at 14. It doesn't matter.
That's the whole thing about this cat. It's awesome because she's like a dog. I say Mango and she comes. I'm not even kidding.
Is your girlfriend too? Is that the same thing that happens?
Oh, that doesn't take very much.
Wait, he's got a girlfriend?
I mean, did you hear this?
I don't even bring it up anymore. You guys bring it up.
If
you want me to go down that path, I will gladly go down that path.
He's in a committed relationship, committed only because he doesn't leave his house. So there's no opportunity to find other opportunities. True. So there you go.
Our guy, Steve Boynton, watches this every Thursday morning during his workout. He said he throws on the old guys pod and he gets a couple chuckles. So a little shout out to Steve Boynton.
Not true. He does it at night when he's hammered. He said he has to listen hammered. And the more I think about it, it's better when I'm not sober. It's a lot easier to deal with the both of you.
At least you don't have Spread here too. So
I miss Spread. I love having Spread on this show. Spread's a good ball buster, and
we're gonna need him next week because I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it next.
What happened? What's going on with Uncle T?
I got an event for my work next Wednesday. I'm going to try to do it. We can do it late, but I definitely won't be able to do it at 4 Eastern. So
Is this
we
a
do it
work
Tuesday
event or a
night.
play-by-play?
We do it Tuesday night, and we
no
get
work event. We don't have basketball till beginning of December.
What do you even do, Uncle T? Like, what's your job?
Hey, Holden, you know what? A couple weeks ago, I kind of maybe asked you if you wanted to reopen the inside the studio with Holden, and you shot it down and actually were very mean to me.
Yeah, I have
and
no
I was
desire
maybe
to
talk
do
about
you for
that on something. We don't need to talk about that on the Wishbone pod, but that could be a topic for that. But you were very mean to me, so screw you.
It's never see. Now that is how you give it back. So screw you.
If we do it Tuesday night, maybe we could get permission from the warden and get Spread in here in his orange jumpsuit.
Hey, actually, that's a great idea. Let's do it early next week. I'll be able to do it on Tuesday night. That's a good call.
He'll probably be one of those guys on good behavior. So he'll probably get more phone calls to do.
He'll show us his ankle bracelet.
Yeah. You know what's weird? I think in prison they still have landlines. It's like the last place that they have landlines and payphones. Yeah. I mean, where else would they have them?
Good call.
It sounds like you more than think. Like maybe you have firsthand knowledge.
It sounds like you don't know.
Where else would they have landlines? I mean, Papua New Guinea, places like that. Hey, what continent is Papua New Guinea on, Uncle T? Let's do a little. Let's see how world. Huh?
Papa who?
Papua New Guinea.
I never heard of it.
Pretty sure it's down in South America. I always thought it was over in Africa. But it is South America, and it is a French colony, those bastards. Anyways, and by the way, have either one of you read All Quiet on the Western Front? It's way too long of a book. I never finished it. The movie on Netflix, though, very good.
I don't read books.
I know you don't. You don't even read
Actually,
books?
I have a book right now that I got a few weeks ago, and BigT him and JSU made fun of me when JSU was in town, and I'm going to read it just to prove a point. But yeah, I've got a book right now, but I don't read too many books.
What book?
I got the one that Stuart Scott had out before he died that he wrote about cancer. So I bought it. Full disclosure, I have not opened it and started reading it yet, but I'm going to. And yeah, BigT likes to give me shit. And like he's read a bunch of books in his 40 years.
Oh, it's a cancer book. Like that's kind of sad. I'm not going to make fun of you for that.
I'm going to read it. So
good
topic.
Heavy topic. Report.
Is this movie, Holden, is it better or worse than one of your favorite movies, Brokeback Mountain?
Brokeback Mountain is just a very sad love story. It happens to have two people with penises, which is why you are making fun of it.
Not at all. Not at all. I just happen to know that. But
Brokeback Mountain doesn't even crack the top 100, but it's a good movie
in your life.
Brokeback Mountain's a good movie.
You guys see this?
I do see it. It's called Stuart Scott Every Day I Fight. It's very inspirational. Yeah, fuck cancer.
Just for the people that didn't think I was telling the truth, which I don't blame you because I don't read books. So, but yeah.
Fuck cancer. That's all I can say. Just it's the worst. It's decimated my whole family. So I get serious when I talk about that. But let's not do serious stuff. Let's do some baseball. Okay. Bryce Harper had waited his whole career to get to the World Series. Bryce Harper deserved a spot on the national stage. I think the world needs to see him. Unfortunately, only 11 or 12 million people are watching right now. Nonetheless, this is great, JT. This is great because finally one of the greatest players you're ever going to see is getting his chance in the limelight, and he's crushing. Like, to me, this is the Bryce Harper World Series. Whether or not they win or lose, I've been waiting for this kid to get going. I mean, I'll tell you this much. I did his first interview as a professional right after he got drafted, and I got a horrible letter from the Nationals because some fat jackass comedian was in there with me, and he asked him if he was going to bang old ladies like he did in The Natural. Kid's 17 years old. You can't ask him about fucking old ladies. Nonetheless, Bryce Harper, I'm a guy that likes him. I'm happy he's on the national stage, JT. I don't know who to root for, though. The only guy I like is Dusty Baker, basically. Who are you rooting for?
We were. I mean, look, it's tough not to like what this Phillies team is doing, and in particular Bryce Harper. I mean, only 3 games in, but clearly, series ended today. He's definitely the MVP of this series. He's the guy who's the spark plug here. He has been throughout the whole playoffs for them, and it's one of those things. I was thinking about this morning because after that game last night, and it's like, man, the Astros, how. People were talking, and I think actually Steve Boynton brought this up and said, well, why don't you start Christian Javier instead of McCullers. And I understand that, right? I think Dusty, being an old school guy, McCullers is a guy with experience. 2017 had a big postseason, and ultimately both these guys are going to have to take the ball and pitch. So it doesn't really matter where you pitch them. But there might be something too when you think about this Phillies run and you think about the Braves run last year, both coming out of the National League East, Holden and Uncle T. I'll throw this out to you guys because it's something I was thinking about. Is there something to having to fight to get into the postseason? Is there something to facing really, really good competition all season long? If you look at the Phillies, 20% of their schedule against the Mets and against the Braves. The Marlins, not a good offense, but a really good pitching staff for the most part. So now you say, okay, 30% against top tier pitching. That, like you're going to see in the playoffs, the Astros are peerless in the American League. I mean, their same 30% of the schedule is the Texas Rangers, the Angels, and the Oakland A's. And of course, they mow through the American League, not really having had a challenge. And it looks like they're struggling a little bit with a team that has had to battle to get through the NL East, to get into the playoffs. And then they have just rolled over every team that they've played. So really interesting thing that I was thinking about. But ultimately, it looks like they've got a lot of momentum and they've just been really good.
What do you think about that, Uncle T? Fighting through this. I've just seen so many teams, they just get hot at the same time. And that happens. You play 162, you sneak in as the 7th team in your league. All of a sudden, you're red hot and you find yourself a couple of wins away from the title.
Yeah, I think, I think baseball more than any other sport, or unlike many other sports, I will say, I'll put it like that because there's none that I can think of offhand. That JT is 100% correct. He did add another part into it in the layer as far as the competition during the season. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for momentum. We talk about in DFS baseball, it's kind of an ongoing kind of joke that hot streaks don't exist. They absolutely do in baseball. And not only do hot streaks exist with individuals for, individual players for DFS purposes, momentum from a team standpoint clearly matters. There's no doubt it does. We're seeing it right now. And obviously you'll say, well, Houston had momentum coming in too. And you're right. You get to the World Series, clearly both teams are going to have momentum. But, and I've got to bet on Houston for the World Series still. So I'm still holding out hope. And, that they can come back tomorrow. Now, the one thing I will say, and, it's not brain surgery, they're down 2-1. You could say, obviously, it's a must win for Philadelphia, and it is. There's no question about that. But you could almost make the argument as well that it not necessarily a must game for Philly, but it's a big game for Philly because if Houston can beat NOLA tonight to even the series at 2, they get Noah Syndergaard, even if it's for 3 or 4 innings tomorrow. They're going to get, unless they make a change. They currently have Syndergaard going up against Verlander. You can make the argument that if Houston wins tonight, they're clearly, obviously, 2-1 as far as from a home field standpoint left out of the best of 3 at that point. But what I'm getting at is I think it's a big win or big game as well for Philly, because if they win tonight, clearly they're set up in a good spot. But I'm just saying, just looking out a little bit, Syndergaard versus Verlander tomorrow. And game 6, it would be Valdez, who's been unbelievable all year, especially at home, going up against potentially in game 6, Wheeler, who Houston hit pretty good. So I'm looking forward to tonight. I think it is a pivotal game, clearly, for both teams, in my opinion. Obviously bigger for Houston, but I'm just saying if Houston wins tonight, they clearly can get maybe a little bit of that momentum that JT said that Philly has right now. And man, they do have it. I mean, the swag's there. The crowd went just crazy last night. I think it fed into McCullers and the whole situation with him out on the mound last night. And and then just to cap it off, JT, what you mentioned, about this Philly team and the being battle tested, if you will. Again, I didn't think they would get this far, but all year long I was waiting for this team to come and kind of be what I thought they could be, because I thought this offense was definitely good enough with the studs up top. I didn't necessarily like their bottom part of the order, but you got Nola and Wheeler, who a lot of people kind of crapped on for most of the beginning of the DFS season, and those two guys have been really good. So I'm rooting for Houston because I got a bet on them, but if Philadelphia wins this thing, it'll be well deserved. So, and I like my boy Nick Castellanos as one of my favorite players. So he sad to see him leave Cincinnati last year when he was here for 1 year. and did great with the community. People loved him. So I'd be real happy for him, especially.
The next time you listen to Bryce Harper talk, tell me that it doesn't sound like Kermit the Frog / Patrick Mahomes. They sound very, very similar, those two guys. By the way, Harper's the first player to hit 6 homers, 6 doubles, 20 hits in a single postseason, and he already has 4 game-winning homers, and that's the most in a single postseason. What this guy is doing is just super special. I'm just torn, though, because I still think the Astros are a bunch of cheaters. I know there were other teams that were doing the same thing. They're the ones that got caught. And then the other side of things, Philadelphia, man. I don't care. Oh, Philly fans are great. They're the worst. They're still the worst. They're horrible. At the 08 World Series, I really thought I was going to die. After the game, there was a dude with a fucking towel on fire spinning it around. Okay. I saw kids getting beaten up there. They're the worst fans in America. They are the worst fans in America. I don't think that our worst fans compare with the worst fans at other places like Mexico, where they throw bottles of piss on our players.
There are no stampedes in the U.S. So, I mean, there are no stampedes in the U.S. So
there's no stampedes. I think, the hooligans over there in Europe, they're probably worse. But as far as America goes, Philly fans definitely at the bottom. They try and tell you they're not, but I don't remember Philly fans doing anything nice at all.
I put that aside. I mean, as someone who's rooted my entire life has been early on the Mets and then now the Braves since I've been down here. And it's tough. It's tough to look and say, okay, I want Philly to win, but it's more so for the players and what I'm seeing on the field. And I said this, I think this was maybe right before the series started or one of our podcasts a couple of weeks ago that, I don't understand the Bryce Harper hate, because when you watch him play the game, he plays the game the way you play baseball. He plays it hard. His only injuries have been running hard through first base to try and leg out a single, right? Remember when he hurt the knee? I think this was years ago. And then getting hit on the arm by Blake Snell with like a 98-mile-an-hour fastball because he's hanging in against a left-handed pitcher who throws hard inside. There's nothing to hate about him. There's just nothing to hate about him. And Uncle T brings up Nick Castellanos. I'll tell you what, one of the things that I've watched throughout these, not just this series, but the entire playoffs has been Castellanos playing hard and improved on defense. He had to have been out in the outfield taking balls all season long to get to the point where he's looked as good as he has defensively. Because that was the one area where you said, well, can the Phillies catch the ball here? And they've been doing that.
All right, so that's the baseball thing. I wanted to get into the trades for you guys. Uncle T, NFL trade deadline. It really has gotten to a point now where it's every bit as good as the baseball deadline. Baseball deadline used to be the best in the world. I don't remember 10 years ago guys getting traded, immediately stepping in the lineup and making massive impacts. And I think we've seen that over the last couple of years. And we just saw it with CMC too. I mean, that's a fascinating one. What is a trade or two that really stands out to you that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll hit on a couple, let JT get in, but the one that made sense to me the most was the Hawkinson trade from Detroit to Minnesota. Minnesota, obviously, they lost our boy Big Irv, right? Got placed on IR.
Mm-hmm.
You can make the argument that they're the same player. I disagree. I think Hawkinson's a much better player, much better tight end. So I think, now what they gave up to get him, you can argue that part if you want, but I think Minnesota did a great job of picking up Hawkinson here. And, you got Kirk Cousins who, sometimes if you get good Kurt or bad Kurt, but he does like to go to his tight ends a little bit. Obviously you got the two good wideouts with Thielen and Jefferson, but I think that's probably the best move. A couple moves that didn't make as much sense. I'm not sure quite what the Bears are doing. To bring in Chase Claypool, I know he's from the area, right? He went to Notre Dame as far as college. I don't know if he's actually from that area. I don't know if there was a connection to maybe grab him. Obviously, he was third, maybe fourth, you could argue, on the wide receiver depth chart for Pittsburgh. So that one's irrelevant from two teams that aren't going anywhere, but just didn't make much sense for Chicago, in my opinion. Then the one that was kind of a little bit of a head scratcher with Miami moving out James Conner, and then they bring in Jeff Wilson. So I don't know how we'll talk about it when we get into this slate here because, you got Mostert there at 6,100 against the Bears this week. But, I'm just not quite sure what to think of that move. You get rid of one running back, and then you bring in another that's arguably better than James Conner, in my opinion. So those are just a couple I'll hit on. I'll let JT get in here with a comment.
JT, after this, I totally forgot to ask you guys about Halloween, because Denver's one of the most sluttiest places in the world, and I absolutely love it during Halloween. But please, before you tell us about the children you beat up coming to your door for candy, why don't you discuss the NFL trade deadline?
Yeah, I'll start with the trade deadline. Interesting moves. I'll tell you what was interesting by Miami, the defensive players that they acquired. So, I mean, you get those caliber players on a team that already has, an absolutely torrid offense when Tua is healthy. Coincidentally, they play the Bears this weekend, and the Bears, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, they significantly downgraded their defense week to week, and it's just sort of like, well, are they going to be? And for DFS is what I'm thinking about it most is, are they going to be the Detroit Lions for the rest of this season, which I think is very possible. Certainly on the road, right? Weather permitting in Chicago, that's always a big consideration as you get to later on in the season. I actually like the Claypool trade for them. I think one of the most interesting performances this week was what they did against the Dallas Cowboys defense in Dallas. I mean, Justin Fields with an excellent performance, spreading the ball around. Khalil Herbert brings a different, I guess, type of back and an explosive playmaker to their offense. So I like them bringing in Claypool because, the Steelers offense for several years now has just been not very good, right? They've got Roethlisberger. Yeah, Roethlisberger at the end of his career. Now they've got Pickett, who, they think is going to be good, but he's a rookie kind of getting his feet underneath him. And Claypool was always going to be the third option behind Deontay Johnson and George Pickens as he emerges in his rookie season. So I like the pickup for the Bears. And given how they got rid of most of their good defensive pieces, they're going to have to outscore teams in order to win the rest of the season. They're probably more so building for next year. So there's that. Nyheim Hines to the Bills was, I don't want to say it's interesting. He's an interesting weapon if used correctly. Obviously, nobody's being used correctly in the Colts offense. And their offensive coordinator this week. So we'll see what happens with them. And then I think the biggest trade, though, the biggest impact, and credit to a coach that I've long said has been one of my least favorite, Kyle Shanahan, for the way that they deployed Christian McCaffrey this past weekend and what we're going to see out of that team going forward. His abilities in the run and the pass game combined with that offensive line and what their defense normally looks like makes San Francisco a really scary team. I'm pretty confident Shanahan will find a way to blow it at the end of the year as usual, but there's no question. I think they're probably become the favorites to get out of that division and get a pretty good seed in the playoffs. So it was definitely an interesting day, though. You see all these, and more so, Holden, who was not moved, right? All the speculation last weekend was, can we play Alvin Kamara? Can we play Brandon Cooks? Can we play Kareem Hunt on Monday? Because these guys are on the trade block. The teams really don't have anything going for them. And you just kind of have to wonder what Houston is doing. You always wonder what Cleveland is doing. This is not a surprise for them to make a non-sharp move, no matter what's going on. And then the Saints the offseason was kind of a wreck with the coaching search. And you've got a marketable guy there for a team that is not going to win right now. I mean, I don't think anybody from the NFC South is going to win much, no matter who gets in. But just sort of odd to not. You have to think that there were teams that were looking for a guy like Alvin Kamara and a guy like Brandon Cooks. Maybe not so much Hunt, but surprising to see them not move.
Okay. Halloween was great. Took my kids. My daughter was a panda. My son was a ninja. We just raised a ruckus, took a whole bunch of things and just, scared people. It was a great time out on the streets. Adam Levitan lives right near me, and I tried to find his house, but I couldn't. So Levitan, if you still watch this show, please hit me back up in the DMs. I want to know where you live so my kids can come and terrorize you. With that being said, Uncle T, what was the plan for Halloween? Did you trick or treat? Did you stay at home and do anything? Did you give away? What do you do for Halloween, Uncle T?
Yeah, we usually have a big party. My older sister has a pretty good size house that accommodates, a large party. So we usually go out there, and my wife and I went out and got costumes on the night before, and then my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, picked up the flu and was throwing up the whole day on Saturday. So she ended up staying home with my daughter. So I ended up having to scrap the costumes that we had bought the night before, and I went with just basically a baseball player to our get together. It was something I had like a head, a baseball head I put on, and then it was kind of just a makeshift thing. Nothing special, Holden.
What were you going to be?
Well, no, I'm not. I'll wait till next year. I'll bring it out next year because the costumes are still in the bag. We'll wait till next year to bring them out, Holden. You're not going to remember anyway. But
is it Luigi?
No, that was up for possible selection this year, Luigi. But I didn't think I would fit into Big T's costume when he wore it. He's a little bit taller, a little bit thicker than I am. Yeah. So I wasn't able to maybe go down that road. I'd say thicker meaning like heavier weight, bigger weight.
Are you calling him
fat? I saw you roll your eyes like thicker, like I was meaning something.
No, let's just say he's fat. I've called him fat. I mean, he's like, you know what? I don't
like calling people fat. He might have a few extra pounds on him, but okay. I don't like to.
What does that mean, JT? What does a few extra pounds mean?
It means obesity. I mean, that's normally what it means, and I think that's not nice, and I wouldn't be talking about it that way. Were you going to be the Cincinnati Reds mascot, Uncle T?
Again, I kind of had to do something literally on the fly, so I went down and grabbed something out of it was literally on the fly because our plans got derailed when my daughter got sick. So nothing too event. And then we don't get a whole lot of trick or treaters where I live here. I'm on kind of a dead end street, and we don't get a whole lot of those, so I didn't have to worry too much about passing out candy.
What about you, JT? What do you do?
Yeah, there's kids in the cul-de-sac here, and they all came by at like around 2 or 3 different of the same times in little groups, and the parents come out and they're drinking and stuff. So got to give out some candy, have a couple of drinks, and then because of the way that we have to be, I had to rush back in and make lineups. So I was like, all right, here, take the ball. I gotta go. Lock is in 15
Should have given out your cores for Halloween. Should have been like, all right, kid. Here's my core tonight. Go tell daddy to play it. And that would have been just wonderful.
Should have. Monday night was a good night. So was Sunday. Sunday was nice.
I know you should have. All right, we're done with this. Time to do, hey, guy that posts the timestamps, mushroom stamp in the chat. Do it. Whatever time it is right now, time to talk some National Football League. It's an interesting slate because every single game is in the early one, except for the Seattle-Arizona game, Rams and Tampa Bay. The Seattle-Arizona game is interesting. Uncle T, do you ever play the split slates? Because I might only be playing the early slate this week.
Holden. So for the third time in consecutive weeks, if I'm not mistaken, I have cores up for the early cores and the afternoon slate only. And I tell you, every week I play both. I play all 3 slates, the main slate,
Again, I'm sober this week.
And the afternoon only. So you are sober. You keep going back to that. But next week now, since you're sober, I don't want to answer this question again. Yes, I play all 3 slates, but I don't understand the 2 games in the afternoon time slot, though. That makes no sense to me.
Well, the reason why is because CBS wanted that national window, and it's Tom Brady and the Rams. They thought it was going to be the greatest game ever. It's now not as sexy of a game, and that's why they back. Usually they'll put 3 or 4 games, but this was to throw CBS a bone to get some ratings.
Would Sunday also not be Game 7 of the World Series if there's a Game 7?
It would be.
I will not be watching.
Saturdays now they're off day.
Yeah, I'll put the World Series on the silent TV, but I still can't miss a Sunday night game.
Or Fridays are off day. My bad.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, I mean, did you ask a question in there, Holden, other than the slates? Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I said, do you play?
I play all 3 slates. Yeah. And to break, honestly, I've been having pretty good success 3 weeks in a row on the early only slate. I know Big T's had some success with the afternoon only slate, but yeah, the early only one I've been doing pretty well. But I think the big thing to look at on this slate here, it feels very similar in some ways to last week. Last week, if you were a chalk player or a cash player, I think one of the friends of ours that literally played every single cash play, I think he got maybe fourth or fifth in the millie. And if you look at his team, it was literally every chalk play, starting with Tony Pollard. And, there's going to be some weeks like that. And, I had a lot of pieces of that Detroit Miami game. And after the 1:00 games are over, my total is, I'm over 200 points thinking I got a shot, and I'm nowhere near the cash line. So, it was definitely a cash week. It was definitely a chalk week where it hit. But this week, you got no Jalen Hurts on the slate at all. You got no Lamar Jackson. So you got Josh Allen up there at 8,500, and and not the best matchup against the Jets. I mean, you could argue that the Jets are playing obviously much better the last 3 or 4 weeks, and $8,500, you got the most expensive tag on Allen all year long. I mean, I'd never talk you out of playing Josh Allen, but I don't think I'm going to go there at all this week. No, I mean, I just think, with what we're going to talk about here in the next, 20 to 25 minutes with these other positions and how we want to maybe build, I don't think I'm going to be able, if you put in Josh Allen at 8,500, you're obviously going to want to play one, if not two pass catchers with him. And Dawson Knox at tight end at 3,500 is cheap. We'll get to him in a little while, but I mean, you're really going to be hampered by how you build your team if you jam in Allen. So for me, I'm going to go down the board just a little bit. You got Herbert there at 7,200 in the game in Atlanta, and I think it's interesting. I'll give you my take, and I think JT will have some. But this game is a very interesting one from a DFS standpoint, I think, because you've got Big Mike that obviously is out now. You got Keenan Allen that clearly is hurting and not 100%, but and then Jesse, or not Jesse Palmer, Joshua, Palmer, he's 5,100, and if he's healthy, clearly is going to be a guy that'll be popular if you like Herbert here. But and other than that, you got Keon, the Carter kid that I don't think is very good, but you got 28 targets that were allotted to Austin Eckler the last 2 weeks. So again, we'll get to him in a minute, but I do think Herbert is definitely in my pool here early in the week for sure. 7,200, you get a $1,300 price break from Josh Allen, so I have a little bit of interest there. Joe Burrow is going to be one where you got a whole week now to prepare a little bit different after getting definitely embarrassed by Cleveland in the first game without Jamar Chase. The big thing with Burrow, and obviously I watch these games as close as anybody, it's clearly just the offensive line. The offensive line just cannot give him time to throw. I don't know that it's going to get better. We talked about this on this show after weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, right, guys? We thought, okay, their offensive line's starting to come together a little bit. Give them time. I don't know if it's going to get any better. I really don't. I didn't see it in the game the other night. I thought they got pushed around. I thought the guy from Alabama, JT, you'll know the lineman a little bit more than me. Who was the lineman for the Bengals? That the only one that stayed from last year's team from Alabama? The white guy. He just got. They literally just. I'll get it here in a minute. They literally just went right around him every time. I felt like we're going to be the only team to get an Alabama guy that just sucks. But anyway, so I do think he's interesting though. I mean, this Carolina team gave up 37 to JT's Falcons last week in overtime, but gave up 37 points. I think Mariota, even though he's not great, I think threw for maybe 250 and 3 scores. So if you think a bounce back week for Burrow is in play, you got Boyd that got priced up a little bit from what we're used to seeing him. I think he could be in play. I'll mention 2 other guys, Geno Smith in that matchup in Arizona. 5,800, I think, is fair. And if you was to ask me or tell me before the season that Aaron Rodgers would be 5,900 at one point on DraftKings and Geno Smith would be 5,800, I'd have probably told you you're crazy. So I do like Rodgers a little bit. I was doing some background on him before the show. He hasn't had more than 17 DK points all year long, which is just crazy for a guy that, we've used to seeing putting up 25 to 35 consistently. Now, they may get Lazard back this week. If they do, I do think that is obviously a smash spot in Detroit. So I do think he's a little bit. And then the last guy on the cheap, Justin Fields, 5.3 K against Miami, who should be, for the most part, in a trailing game script. I think Justin Fields is interesting.
So last thing for you here. What about, can I interest you in a Kirk Cousins revenge game at Washington?
I mean, it's a good spot for sure. I just, like I said, you got the extra piece with Hawkinson in there. I'm assuming he's going to be good to go right away. Yeah, I mean, I can see that, Holden. I'll see what JT thinks, but I definitely think it's interesting. But I'd probably rather go to Burrow a little above and Herbert, and then maybe you drop down. But
Hey, JT, are you concerned about Burrow going forward?
Definitely concerned about that offensive line.
Yeah.
This is a non-division game, and like Uncle T points out, it's a defense that got worked by the Falcons. Second game on the road for Carolina, so could see a get right spot here. Just also some interesting usage last week in terms of how they used, or I guess more appropriately, and maybe some of this was the trailing script, but have not seen the targets for Mixon like they were early in the season. A lot of those targets this year were behind the line. This past game were behind the line of scrimmage. And it was just, they were just ready for it. The Browns were ready for it, obviously. A team they play often and know them well. So certainly a little bit of concern there. This Bills-Jets line seems to me a line that was designed for the public. Bills favored on the road by 12.5. They come back into the division after 3 weeks at the Chiefs. They were on a bye, and then they played the Packers at home. And I by no means do I think the Jets win this game, but 12.5-point favorites on the road here.
It was 14. So people are realizing it was too big. I think 12.5 is too big.
Well, I would start it opened at 7. It went all the way up to 14. It came back now down to 12.5. And I think this is a line that's meant to take advantage of the public's belief that Buffalo is the best team in the NFL. I don't disagree that they're the best team in the NFL, but these division games, and the Jets are a much improved defense. I don't know if this game is going to be, a 48-point game with the Bills running away with it. So, and the pricing there too, very, very expensive pricing on all of these Bills pieces. So that one's interesting. When I first pulled up the slate though, Uncle T, to agree with something you said, I looked at this Charger Falcons game and I'm like, this game is the nuts, especially if AJ Terrell is out again. You've got now
Peterson could be back. Cordero.
Well, they opened the practice window for him. So usually, what does that mean?
He could be back this week.
Okay. All right. So that would be very interesting because the Chargers worst in the NFL against the run. And that's also good for Marcus Mariota, who's only 5.3K. Right. So you look at them. The one thing about the Chargers, they've really just never been a team that's traveled to the East Coast well. And so Eckler at 8,800 is priced up on DraftKings. It depends on if any value opens up later on in the week. I think he's my favorite Charger just because, we saw Deontay Foreman go for 3 touchdowns and absolutely just torch this defense. Eckler can catch a lot more passes than him. We'll have to see. Allen did get the benefit of the bye. So he did play the week that Holden was wrong and said he wasn't going to play.
Oh my God. Fuck you.
How
bad was he? How bad was he?
It doesn't matter. He played. But it was just that he played.
I hope you played him. I really hope you played him.
Nobody was going to play him. JT was right.
Nobody was going to play him, Holden. It was just a matter of if he was going to see the field because of the way it impacted the other players. But anyway, he's got another week behind him, and he could be a little bit healthier. If Terrell is out, he'll be a good play there too. I don't know. Like I said, I liked what Chicago did in that matchup against Dallas, but now Miami adds 2 monsters to that defensive line there. So why aren't we interested in Tua? With those weapons against this Bears defense that lost a bunch of their playmakers on defense. So I think that's interesting. Trevor Lawrence for cheap is a little bit interesting against this Raiders team, second game on the road. And I think you can go Geno. Seattle's defense has looked not terrible recently, which is somewhat of a surprise. But they will be on the road.
Let me bring up Tua because he's interesting.
Yeah,
he's had how many games have they played? 6. He's had 2 games over 261 yards. Mm-hmm. He's had another couple of games in the hundreds, and then he's had these blow-ups, 382 and 3, 469 and 6. And you're getting more rushing out of him though these last 2 weeks. That's the one thing. He had 4 carries through his first 4 games. The last 2, he's got 9. So that's an added bonus. It's just fascinating to me that Hill and Waddle continue to go bananas, yet he has mediocre numbers. It's almost like it's not officially correlated yet. It's blowing my mind. But Tua in the circle of trust this week. I think he's got to be.
He's in the mix. I mean, for sure. Just because of, like I said, this Bears defense trades away really the guys that you're worried about getting to the quarterback.
Agreed. Last guy would be Kyler Murray, Seahawks defense. One of the worst, if not the worst defense. The first, 4 weeks of the season, weeks 5 through 8, number 2 in DVOA defensively. Yep. The Seahawks defense is turning around. So before you want to play your little friend, just think about that for a second. Okay. Let's get into a running back. And since Uncle T took quarterback first, JT, I'm going to come to you at running back. I'll just start up top. Like Austin Eckler is 1,000 more on DK than Dalvin Cook, who's the second highest price running back. He's gone absolutely ape shit. You got him at 8.8, but you also have Josh Jacobs coming off a rough week, who was going ape shit at 7.3. And then Jonathan Taylor at 7.7. I cannot advocate playing for this guy. He's missing practice again. His ankle's bothering him. Boy, Deion Jackson could be, we might be going down way down there at 5.2 this week. Talk to me though about Eckler, would you, JT? Like, is it just a week where it's going to be tough to fit him in?
I don't know yet, Ryan. I don't know yet because
who's Ryan?
What's that?
Who's Ryan?
Who's Ryan?
You just called me Ryan.
No, I didn't. I said
I don't know.
What?
Didn't he call me Ryan, Uncle T? He goes, I don't know. Ryan.
I didn't hear him.
Okay.
I didn't hear him say
all right,
Ryan.
Chad, if you hear it, just let me know if he said, all right, Ryan.
This isn't a live show, Holden.
Right, but the chat will watch this and still put it in the chat below the guy that timestamps it.
Honestly,
yes, Ryan. Yes, Ryan.
Take a fucking edible. Maybe then you could hear me a little
I know.
bit.
I'm really
so not used to
I hate
not being
doing
on
this
edibles.
over with you guys. It's very difficult. Easily the 2 most challenging people I have to work with. I got to like drag your asses up from the gutter. Anyways, just go, JT.
Speaking of dragging people up, Alvin Kamara is not on the slate, Holden. We'll start there. But Austin Eckler,
Nice one.
it's just a smash matchup. The question, you're right though, Holden. The question is, can you fit him in, right? Because he is 8,800. Have to see what we think about some of these lower price plays at wide receiver. Before the Hines trade, I thought that Devin Singletary was at least interesting at 5.7. Now I think makes you a little nervous to go there because I expect that Hines is probably going to get that third down work and it's going to be more of a split once again. That's what the Bills always like to do. I think Aaron Jones is going to be popular. I don't, they're saying, and you see the usage, it looks like it's tipped back more to Jones, and the way that Rodgers been playing, you think maybe he'll get more of those passes around the line of scrimmage. So he's interesting. I think Travis Etienne, we just saw what Alvin Kamara did do to the Raiders. Travis Etienne prices is up there a little bit, but he's been absolutely great. Mostert 6.1. Yeah, they traded for Wilson. I just don't know. I just don't know what that means to this Miami team. But the Bears, have been giving up an average of 26 fantasy points to opposing running backs. We saw that Tony Pollard ran all over them. And it's gonna be a very interesting week here at running back. I think, with the Bills bringing some of these guys back off of the physically unable to play list too, brought in cornerback off the list too. It's makes it a little bit more difficult to get interested in the Jets. Michael Carter, you do have James Robinson there as well. There's a lot of teams here. The Cardinals, the Lions, whatever's going on with Swift and Williams. There's a lot of teams here with split duties at running back, which is why also I think Eckler is really interesting, even if you have to sacrifice elsewhere to get him in, because I don't see a lot of other running backs at first look that I think have a 24 to 26 point floor.
Anything you brought up, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has obviously got to be in the mix this week.
Yep.
ATN against Las Vegas. Thoughts on him? And then I'm just rolling down a little bit lower here. I think I brought this up. What if Connor's out? Can we trust Benjamin this week? I just talked about this Seattle defense. I don't think I can do it. Dante Foreman's a guy I can go with, but the other backup, Benjamin, totally different teams. I can't get behind. I can get behind Foreman though.
Foreman, I don't know if I'm going to go back to Foreman. I mean,
Chuba's out. If Chuba's out,
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, that kind of eruption. His price went up a little bit now, $6K against Cincinnati. I don't know how I feel about it early in the week.
Okay. Uncle T, talk to us here, running back.
Yeah, Foreman definitely doesn't sound like a JT play. I know JT well enough now. JT isn't going to play a guy coming off a ceiling game like that. And I agree with you, JT, for sure. I'm on board with you. You, for the most part, play like that from what I know from you. So I'm going to avoid Mr. Foreman as well. But not a whole lot more needs to be talked about Eckler. We talked about him pretty much on this whole show, but he definitely is in a smash spot. There's no doubt about it. 8,200 or 8,800 Holden. You're right. It's very, it's a healthy price tag to pay for him, but with no Henry, no CMC on the slate, you got JT at 7,700. That's been bad. And he's actually injured as well.
Yeah, man,
I don't know how we don't try to fit in Eckler. I really don't. And even if you don't play him with Herbert, now that'll be another question that, depending on how you like to build, can you play Eckler without Herbert? I think he clearly could for sure.
With Mariota.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a way between now and Sunday, Holden, that will probably between everybody here at RPS and all over, we'll probably have to figure out a way to kind of, again, maybe get a little bit different, maybe get a little bit creative and use Eckler. But yeah, I mean, 28 targets out of the backfield. I think he's got 28 targets and only 23 or 24 rushes the last 2 weeks. So he's got more targets than rushes, which we know he catches a lot of passes, but still they have that big of a disparity. And then again, you got Mike out and Keenan Allen. If he don't come back, I can see Eckler getting used in a very similar spot. And the thing is, I don't know that I would like him at 8,800. Clearly, if he wasn't in as good a matchup as he is here in Atlanta. So definitely on him. Josh Jacobs, he had the 3, 4, 5 games in a row where he crushed. Last week, he came back to earth a little bit. I think I might go right back to him here. Good matchup here in Jacksonville. 7,300 still, I think a fair price tag. You guys mentioned Aaron Jones. Man, I don't know what to think about this Green Bay. I mentioned or talked about it a little bit with the Rodgers segment. I don't know what this, if you'd like to think at some point this Green Bay team is at least going to be able to move the ball and put up some points. But, Jones did move the ball quite a bit when they did go to him in the second half. And it was kind of crazy. They went to the ground game and were moving the ball, but they were down 3 touchdowns. Now they came back and made that a competitive game against Buffalo. Not quite sure what Buffalo did to not close that game out well before they did on Monday night, but kind of like Aaron Jones. I'm kind of looking more in this middle range. ETN, like him quite a bit. Ramondre Stevenson, nice matchup against Indianapolis, 6,200. And then we talk about that Green Bay game, DeAndre Swift. Big T and I were both on him. I watched the games over there Sunday, and all the chalk that was hitting and stuff. Not that DeAndre was a big chalky guy, but wow, we knew right away we made a bad call on DeAndre Swift. We weren't sure how they were going to handle him, coming off of the injury weeks, and man, he did not look good at all. Man, I think I might try to go back to him. I might try to go back to Swift here. You've got Hawkinson that we talked about earlier, though, Holden, that got moved, right? So that could open up maybe a few more attempts on the dump offs to Swift without Hawkinson in there. Obviously, I'm not even sure who the backup tight end for Detroit is. JT might know that, but I kind of like Swift here a little bit.
It's the guy who scores touchdowns every week instead of Swift.
Oh, Jamal Williams?
Yes.
Well, no, I'm talking about the backup tight end for Hawkinson. Who's the tight end now?
Oh, that's what's his name? It's not is it Brock Wright is the backup?
I'll have to look it up.
It's either James Mitchell or Brock Wright. One of those two scrubs is the backup.
Is he he's going to be Met Price, right? He's going to be 2,500, right?
Good thing.
We can find out.
Yeah, I'll go look it up right now. Yeah,
he's going to be. But anyway,
those are the two stiffs: Brock Wright and James Mitchell. It is them. Yeah. They're both 2.5. Uncle
There
T.
you go. Yep. But outside of, again, Eckler, maybe Jacobs up top, I kind of like this mid 6K range. And you can even throw in Mixon in the mix there that, if you don't think Burrow is going to get enough time, I can see a steady dose of Joe Mixon, and maybe he gets a ceiling game this week against Carolina. So I like the mid range quite a bit. I don't see a whole lot underneath 6K that I really like a whole
Don't
lot,
play
to be
Swift.
honest.
Don't play Swift. He already missed he missed a practice this week with his shoulder. The coaching staff saying they played him too much. They rushed him back.
Played him too much?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many plays did he have?
I don't know. They wanted to take it even back further.
I mean, this guy's got to ball up and get to Sharman. He reminds me of freaking Anthony Davis. I mean, they can't. Freaking Sharman
he's not that bad, but he's bad.
I mean,
but let me just say this. Okay. First of all, he hasn't had a full workload since week 1. All right. That's the second thing is now he's got a shoulder on top of it. And the third thing is 3 games with Williams and Swift together. Here, I found this morning. Swift has been out rushed 42 carries to 17 carries, 6 touchdowns to no touchdowns. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? He's not.
That was a lot of research, Holden. You basically gave us absolutely nothing. But you know what? Because I respect you, I'm gonna make a note of what you just said.
And then remind me next week when it's wrong.
and then JT or I will remind you that you were wrong.
I'm serious. This guy, he's Mr. Glass.
I
would not play him.
Yeah, and my point mainly being it wasn't like I was in love with, but like I do kind of like this mid 6K, mid to low actually 6K range, because I don't see a whole lot of value down in the mid 5s, low 5s. I don't see a whole, unless there's an injury that comes up. I don't, again, if JT's ruled out, Deion Jackson will definitely get some looks down there at 52. I just don't see a whole lot of value down there this week. So it'll be interesting to see how the week plays out.
All right. This is a long pod today. Wide receiver. Let's get into this. Cooper Kupp, 8-9, dealing with an ankle. Should play this week though. Justin Jefferson has Washington. Tyreek at Chicago. I keep saying this. You could play Waddle and you're going to get the same upside. Maybe not. Yeah, you're going to get the same upside. I see it every week. You would think that they're going to try and jam the ball to Devontae Adams this week at Jacksonville. DeAndre Hopkins has been remarkable. But Uncle T, I want to get your thoughts on T. Higgins this week, sitting at 7-3, coming off a game where he did absolutely nothing. They have Carolina. They know they need to feed this dude the ball. Can we trust T. Higgins at 7-3 to be our wide receiver 1?
Yeah, we'll start with T. Higgins since you brought it up like that. I don't know the answer to that, Holden. I'm very suspect on whether I want to go back to T here. If you take away the 40 or 41 yard touchdown that Burrow was able to evade 2 rushers and throw that ball up, and he went up and got it, made a great play, and got into the end zone late in the fourth quarter there. If you take that away, I mean, he had like 20 yards receiving, about 4 or 5 targets. I mean, he didn't show me a whole lot of anything at all. And if we're talking about this line not being able to hold up, I'm not quite sure I want to pay 7.3 for him, unless obviously I'm going to go to Burrow. I'll have interest, but I'd probably at this point side with the running game, as crazy as that sounds. I kind of like Mixon a little bit more than the passing game for the Bengals. So I'm going to say probably a pass on Higgins as of right now. But going back up to the top, you got Cooper Kupp that is definitely banged up, but he's at his lowest price tag all year long. 8,900 feels really cheap for him. Again, it's a tougher matchup, maybe going up against that Tampa defense down there in Tampa, but 8,900 definitely feels cheap. But if he's banged up in any way, I might still pass on him. Justin Jefferson, you guys talked about, or Holden, you did, about liking Kirk Cousins. Jefferson 8,600 against that Washington defense. I definitely have some interest there. And the most frustrating guy for me the last couple of weeks is probably because he's not my favorite player, but he's one of the guys I've always liked, Davante Adams. I mean, what in the world? The one chalk place that didn't hit last week was the Raiders. Jacobs had a bad game. Obviously, DA had 5 targets. He had 1 catch for 3 yards and was clearly frustrated out there. Derek Carr, I mean, I don't know what to do with them, because I feel like I want to go back to Davante Adams at 8,100, but I don't know the ineptness of Derek Carr if it's going to matter here. He's been so bad, but he definitely gets a good matchup in Jacksonville. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him. But going down the board just a little bit, I mean, I think Green Bay is going to be able to obviously put up some points. I mentioned that a few times in this show against Detroit. And if so, we got to like somebody on the other end. Holden, you said you didn't care much for Swift. JT's guy here, Amon-Ra, 6,600. He looked a lot better last week. I think he might have had maybe 9 targets. I'll have to go back and look at it. 9 targets, I think, last week, or 10 targets, 7 for 69 in a score. I think Amon-Ra is a very good play this week. I like him quite a bit. And I think he's underpriced. Actually, I think he's underpriced by $700 in my opinion. So I like him quite a bit. If he is back and playing again, Alan Lazard at 6K is interesting. Terry McLaurin, if we think that game, Cousins and Jefferson is going to put up some points. I think on the backside, Heineke is not a very good quarterback, but he definitely has a rapport with McLaurin. He likes him quite a bit. 5.9K. I could see running it back with Scary Terry here. That's looked a little bit better the last couple of weeks. And I'll mention 3 cheap guys real quick. Romeo Dobbs at 5.3K. I mentioned Lazard that I like, but Dobbs looked pretty good. Had a nice touchdown catch last week. Joshua Palmer, we've talked about. If we think he is healthy and gets the okay to go, 5.1K is interesting there. And probably my favorite cheap play is Garrett Wilson. 4.8K going up against Buffalo. Clearly going to probably be in a trailing game script. I think he got a lot more involved last week, and I can see Wilson being a little bit more involved in this offense as the year goes on.
The cheap guy I'm going to bring up once again, and this has been the last 2 weeks we played him. I'm waiting for the explosion. He's getting so much work. Listen, it's not comfortable. Terrace Marshall, 3.9 DK, 5.4 FanDuel. The guy is playing a ton of snaps. Now he got 9 targets and 4 catches last week. So
Holden, can I add something to that? And it's
what?
To your point. PJ Walker, I watched that game pretty closely because PJ was in Big D's score last week, and we were watching that game closely. Yeah. He missed him.
I know.
2 or 3. He missed him 2 or 3 different times. One of them was on a bomb that would have completely changed his fantasy stat line. So I agree with you. Not a bad.
That's the problem though, because it's PJ Walker, you know. But I still think he's getting the volume. He's on the field a lot, and he's a way to save money. JT, wide receiver, my friend.
Yeah, real quick, just a tweet that came out a few minutes ago from the Chargers beat writer. See if you could decipher this. Keenan Allen says his hamstring got worse during the bye week when training. He says next time he goes in a game, it won't be on a snap count, that it will be all or nothing with his hamstring absolutely ready to go. Said he felt great going into week 7, but not 100%.
See you in week 14.
Pretty much. It's like, okay, either that's nonsense. I mean, he is 6,500. I would like him if I had some clarity. Setback. But he's at the age where these guys are going to get hurt, right? And so you guys talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6,600. I like him. I like Lazard quite a bit. Tyler Lockett at 6,100. As always, almost every single time he's played the Cardinals has just torched them because they focus so much on locking up DK Metcalf, and it'll be interesting. But I think that price point is nice. He should finally be fully healthy. Chris Godwin in a matchup against the Rams, 6,200. I like Chris Godwin here quite a bit. He's not going to be very high owned. Christian Kirk is down to 5,500. Trevor Lawrence likes throwing to him quite a bit. And at the top, Justin Jefferson is going to explode one of these weeks. And I think he finally has a team that has enough of a donkey coaching staff and enough of a lack of player personnel on defense to not be able to appropriately bracket him. 8,600 for Jefferson. He's going to be right around 15% right now. If Kupp is healthier throughout the week, that'll go down. I like him quite a bit. And, like we talked about with the Miami receivers, weather dependent. Got to see what the weather is going to be like in Chicago. But you can't argue that they're in a good spot here against a depleted defense.
I mean, right now it's beautiful, upper 50s. Now we're sitting here midweek, but they're not saying it's going to be nasty. So we're just getting lucky with the weather again. Unfortunately, it doesn't snow as much. We don't get as many snow games anymore. And we're sitting here in early November. We got nice warm weather everywhere. So I'm fine with it. I'll take my 70 degrees in Denver and snow tomorrow. It's just shit that happens out here. It's crazy. The only other guy is Joshua Palmer that I want to talk about. He's hurt a lot of people's feelings, but don't forget that he's kind of he's a better fit as that downfield threat So him filling in now for Mike Williams, I think I might be able to trust him a little bit more.
I mentioned him twice, Holden. Thanks for listening.
Oh.
Appreciate you.
Well, there was
actually mentioned him earlier in the show, and then during the wide
what I was
receiver
reading
segment.
at the time. That
what were you searching for when I was talking?
I didn't read. It's interesting because I did not read when JT was on. I listened. There's I think it was Miss Puerto Rico and Miss Argentina got married. And I was just thinking about just the three-way is what I was thinking about. And it's not going to happen, but that's definitely what I was thinking about, Uncle T.
All right. At least you were honest. I give you that.
I mean, yeah, he's all right with that too. Imagine that, 2 supermodels just.
I mean, that's interesting that they got married to each other. I mean, it makes you think if there's room for you. If there's interest.
There's no room for me, but it's Miss Argentina and Miss Puerto Rico, and they're both like smoking hot.
Right, but maybe they don't want what you're.
They probably do not.
They don't want your equipment.
No, they don't. That, and I'm old. I don't leave my house. There's a lot of things, but still,
there's a
lot of factors that weigh against you here. I mean, I'm
going to be honest with you. I think my girlfriend would give me a free pass for that one.
Well,
so she seems great. Honestly,
she really is. She's so cool.
As Tambo would say, Holden, is that something you both might be interested in?
Yeah, we do. We've been to a swingers club together.
How'd that
was
go?
Fun.
There you go.
We do a lot of cool stuff together, and I think she'd give me a pass, but she also knows it's not going to happen. But if you look at these 2 girls and you think about that, you definitely
would she watch the festivities?
She probably would.
I mean, it would, JT, in fairness here, I mean, you're looking at, she would only have to keep an eye on it for about 15 seconds and then it'd be over. But, so it wouldn't be a whole lot of activity, but.
Quick and,
quick hitter.
Quick and uneventful.
Problem is you get older and it's not easy anymore, You get older and it's just, guys.
I haven't had any trouble.
He brings up a good point. He probably injects the blue stuff right into the shaft.
That's the other thing. I haven't needed that yet. I've taken it. When I took it was in my 20s, and it makes you into Superman. Like the poor girl just gets knocked through the wall.
Oh my God, did they live?
We gotta get this show back on the rails.
Tight end is a wasteland again. If you want to go to Zach Ertz, have a good time.
Wasteland.
There.
I got a few tight ends I like.
Kyle Pitts. You want to go to Kyle? You trust in Kyle Pitts? You want to go back to Tyler Higbee? You hope that he actually, could pick up 10 catches for more than 10 yards. That ADOT's not looking good. Come on, what do we want to do here? Will Dissily? Who's on the list? Uncle T.
I mean, it's JT's turn to go first, but if you want me to go,
no, I want you to, because I want to go back and look at these pictures of these 2 women that are making out.
You want to hear what JT has to say and not me?
I'm just not talking.
Let Uncle T go. Okay, I got the page up right now. Please, Uncle T.
Right, we have obviously no Kelsey, no, Andrews. We got no Kittle. It's weird to see Zach Ertz up there at 5.1K as the highest priced tight end. He does get, again, on paper, a good matchup, but we've talked about it on this show. Seattle's been a lot better the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I don't know that I want to pay $5,100 for tight end. I think it's going to be a position that, for the most part, I want to spend down on. I will say TJ Hawkinson at 5K feels a couple $100 more expensive than we're used to seeing him, and he does draw. Again, I think they're going to score some points, but I don't think anybody's going to play Hawkinson at 5K. It's definitely interesting. The other guy I didn't talk about in the other prior talk about the Chargers game is Gerald Everett. Now, another guy that feels a little bit more expensive than we're used to seeing him. But again, if you've got Allen that is probably out, or at least, based off of not being 100%, he's not going to play. I mean, you got to go somewhere. I guess you could play, just Eckler with Herbert if you want, but I kind of have some interest if I'm going to pay up maybe for Gerald Everett. I'm going to put it like that. And then going down a little bit, I'll let JT talk about Kyle Pitts because he breaks him down a little bit better than I do. Robert Tonyan, 3.8K. Rodgers definitely likes Tonyan. I think that's fair price tag in the matchup against Detroit. I don't have a whole lot of interest in Higbee, but going down, the guy that feels underpriced, not that he's been crushing, but Dawson Knox at 3.5K feels cheap. Really cheap. And I think he could get kind of popular as the week goes, but I definitely have interest there. One other guy I'll mention is Evan Ingram, 3.3K in the matchup against Las Vegas. Ingram's been quietly pretty decent. He doesn't have a huge ceiling, but the last 4 weeks he's gotten 6 targets, 7, 6, 10. He hasn't produced a whole lot, but for 3.3K, I kind of like the matchup there with Ingram going into or playing in Jacksonville against Las Vegas. So that's really all I have on tight end.
All right, JT. I heard he was done with tight end. One girl's name is Fabiola. I love that name. I love Fabiola.
Yeah, they met in Thailand.
You were doing it too while he was talking.
Well, I had to check it out.
Literally, neither one of your co-hosts were listening.
I was listening.
About lesbian sex.
I mean, I can listen and look at pictures, unlike you. I mean,
well, what did he say?
Because
so they met. Where did they meet?
He talked about every tight end on the board. On Thailand.
4.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't need your thoughts on tight end, JT. This show's gone too long.
I'm just going to talk about the one guy
talk
about the one guy that wasn't mentioned, which is Robert Tonyan. In a good matchup.
I talked about him, you donkey. Now you sound like Holden.
We were looking at hot chicks.
I'm boycotting next week. Screw you guys.
I hope
neither one of you listen to me.
Get married next week, and I'll do the same thing.
Unbelievable. JT, I'm disappointed.
My main thought at tight end is with some of the pricing and some of the upside at running back and wide receiver. I think this is a week where you go as low as you can. So Tonyan is interesting. Ingram is interesting. We'll see as we get closer to Sunday.
Which one are you more jealous of, JT? Fabiola or the other one?
I think Mariana is the prettier girl.
Simon, get us out of here.